of walk through what I think needs to be an expanded definition of literacy from functional literacy through. And then what I'm going to do is end up with this idea of critical media literacy. I'm going to show a little chunk of the film that was mentioned that came out from the Media Education Foundation, just kind of get an idea of how that kind of critique works. But to get there, I want to problematize the whole notion of literacy as it's developed, and certainly since No Child Left Behind has been implemented since 2001, because they have a very strict sort of phonics approach to defining, conceptualizing, and implementing literacy classes via this definition. And the reason I think it's so limited is because this idea of functional literacy is limited simply to the notion of decoding and encoding. For those of us that deal with, literacy every day, that's basic reading and writing. But reading and writing to the extent that one can look at a text, right? You can look at a piece of paper, you can see there's some insignia, there's some signs on the text, and you can decode those signs. You're able to sort of extract some kind of message from those signs, or that you can encode, right, those signs. You can write. Now, if that's functional literacy, which I think it is, I think that's the basic definition of functional literacy, the question really is that enough? Once a person acquires those skills, is that enough to call that person literate? And my answer, I think that's a rhetorical question. My answer is absolutely no. And let's use a basic example. Cruising up here today, I saw a bumper sticker on the back of the car. Actually, I saw two. One I really liked. The other one was disturbing, but you'll find out ideologically where I'm situated, given which one I was mobilized by towards liking and not liking. The one I'm going to use, it had the peace sign on it, right? And it said, the footprint of the American chicken. And I thought, all right, cool. If these, these triple chin, I shouldn't call them triple chins. I've turned into a triple chin because I've been ball and chained to a computer for the last 15 years. But these guys and their cronies down in DC, right, put these little pieces together and say, well, literacy is an easy thing. All you need to do is know how to decode and encode. And I'm looking at this bumper sticker thinking, it requires a hell of a lot more to understand what this simple little statement is saying. I mean, what else do I need to have to read that bumper sticker? Beyond decoding and encoding. By the way, these folks are always saying, we need to get back to the basics. It's like we've never left the basics. That's part and parcel of the problem is. Know what I know, as radical as they go, things that we shouldn't be getting back to the basics in the sense that we shouldn't be embracing functional literacy. What I'm saying is we need to expand it. What do I need to expand to read that bumper sticker? Yeah, you're going to need some knowledge of current events, totally. So you're not only going to need functional literacy, you're going to need what we refer to as cultural literacy. You need some background knowledge, right? You need some common associations of information that's been circulated that allow you to read into this apparently simple statement. What kind of current events would I need to know?
Like the difference between like the opinions in the country, like that was a one opinion based in the war, and the back obviously I'm pretty sure that's what we're referring to.
Yep, sure.
Some people want peace, some people want to continue doing that, and each side has their reasons for that.
Totally, exactly. So I mean, that cultural grounding tells me that you can't have some sense of universal literacy via decoding and encoding, some technique or abstract sort of exercise. Literacy is always grounded in some kind of historical, institutional, cultural context. That's the only way to get the meaning from it. The meaning of that bumper sticker is not coming via osmosis or lifting up a rock or dropping out of the sky. It's inscribed through a social process that we're all part and parcel of. But you need to be socialized, apprenticed into that space to start to extract not the sign situation, right? That's arbitrary, but that cultural understanding, those current events. So suddenly it's like I need to know something about what's going on in the Persian Gulf. More specifically, what's going on in Iraq. But it's interesting that they use the peace sign. Again, the peace sign, sort of looks like the footprint of the American chicken that they're saying. Why the peace sign? What else do I need? Why do you think they're using the peace sign?
You need sort of a historical understanding of the battle that's going on since Vietnam.
Totally.
The right and the left.
Totally. We're pulling from Vietnam, where the peace sign came out of, unless, of course, you believe the Heineken commercial that basically said of some hippie, it was supposed to be Woodstock looking for 2 fresh Heinies, right? That could be one cultural context, again, spectacle, diverting you away from the historical specificities through which we can understand, if we're literate, right, what the peace sign is and how it's emerged. What are the historical specificities through which it's emerged? How do we then combine generational forces to see how it's now being misused as what's happening in Iraq? Now, again, ideologically, where you situate yourself in this, you brought up many sides of it. it isn't really what's relevant at this point. What's relevant for me is what it's going to require for you to read that bumper sticker, right? So we need a sense of history. We need cultural literacy in terms of associations. We need a sense of history.
I also connect the word footprint with the ecological footprint.
Sure, totally.
So in terms of, unless you've been watching the Weather Channel just in the last 48 hours,
right.
you might not have any acknowledgement or no knowledge about what the word footprint means.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. And environmental stuff, again, moving out of the 60s, the environmental movement, we know these neoliberals in DC can't stand that stuff.
Right.
Because they want government off the backs, which again, you need serious literacy to read into, because they really want the government on the backs. They really want, in the name of deregulation, to regulate in their interests. Otherwise, something like NAFTA wouldn't be 980 pages. If it's a North American free trade agreement, it should be no pages. It should be free trade. Go to Canada, get your drugs. Go to Mexico, get whatever you want. No, what it really is, again, which would require the third step of literacy, what I'm calling critical literacy, it would require of us the ability to not only understand the knowledge that exists, right, the discourses that are in place, but to be able to critically read into those discourses, to get the values and beliefs, the historical specificities within, this is what's key, not universal structuralist notions of literacy, but post-structural notions of literacy through which we start to identify the power relationships that shape that knowledge and get that knowledge circulated throughout society so that we consume it in socializing agencies, whether it's the family, houses of faith, community organizations, or where most of us work, educational institutions. These are major agencies of socialization. These aren't neutral places. People say, oh, they're neutral and democratic places. It's like, you can't be neutral and democratic. Democratic's an ideological position, right? They're not. They're cultural institutions. What these institutions, I think, need to be doing is embracing a more critical notion of literacy, right? And I don't mean sort of critical thinking along the lines of abstraction, mathematical equations, and so on. I mean ideological analysis. The ability to read the values and beliefs that are embedded in the knowledge that we wield. Not just to recognize the knowledge, but to start to recognize where that knowledge comes from, right? So now we've got functional literacy, cultural literacy, and critical literacy, right? But the key then to ask the question is, well, where these agencies of socialization, right? These sort of houses of cultural production and reproduction, what are the key agencies in that place? And for me, the media is such an important sort of mechanism for being able to circulate information these days in what we're calling a postmodern world. We're saturated by images and messages. And so for me, this notion of critical pedagogy and critical literacy needs to also have connected to it a component of critical media literacy. That the media is not simply reflective of some reality that exists out there. It's not simply expressing it as if, oh, I just wanted to tell this story because it made me feel good. And it's also pedagogical. It's radically formative. It's telling us an enormous amount about the world around us. The problem is most of us aren't aware of it, which is where this film goes. What I try to do with the film is say, you know what? When we're watching TV, especially entertainment television, we need to take that entertainment more seriously. We need a critical media literacy sort of lens through which we entertain ourselves. And I think certainly one that needs to be embraced in schools. Not telling kids what to think, but teaching them how to think so that they can look at this world, right, this grand spectacle, and start to look at it and say, what is this telling me about myself? What's it telling me about the community I live in? What's it telling me about race and class and gender and sexuality? All these issues around identity. Because as I argued, this isn't reflective. It's not some nemesis of something that's just out there, some pre-existing entity. It's formative. People make these shows. There are human beings that have been socialized, that are ideologically oriented, that make these shows. And so what I want to do with this is show that, you know what, we need to take our entertainment more seriously. If we're going to redefine literacy in the 21st century, it needs to be a combination, that articulation of functional, cultural, critical, and media literacy. Now, there are two other elements I'm not going to talk about today because we don't have enough time. I think technological literacy is also important. Come on, let's face it, we live in a technologically saturated world. It's a whole other language. You know, I mean, I can ask a 7th grader or a 7-year-old, and they're going to know 10 times more than I do about how to run these programs, how to run your iPod. You know, I'm like a postmodern caveman. I can do, you know, Microsoft Word. Thank goodness they came up with the images. You know, okay, technological literacy is important. Methodological literacy is really important, and it often gets completely sort of relegated to the margins. Methodological literacy, if you really want to understand where those cultural representations come from, it's how they're generated, right? We're all in institutions of higher education, Greenfield Community College, right? We study. We're exposed to empirical work, right? Research. Well, research, as you all know, doesn't fall out of the sky. Somebody puts it together. Matter of fact, a real important question to ask when you're checking out research, see who funded it. Do a little bit with your technological literacy, go online, and find out who funded it, because what you often find is those experts that we see on television all the time, whether it's Fox, right, Viacom, Disney, right, Time Warner, General Electric, I love it, these are liberal media. Well, not Fox, everybody knows this. The other ones are liberal. It's like these are massive transnational telecommunications corporations that have all kinds of vertical and horizontal relationships. There's nothing liberal about them. I mean, go read what Sumner Redstone and Viacom has to say about the world. These are really conservative, neoliberal characters. But again, you need the critical literacy, the technological literacy to go online, to start to read those cultures, see how they all start to go together. This is really, really important if we're going to make substantive change for the 21st century. That we need a population that's much more literate and able to read, as Paulo Freire argued, that social and political reality, that political power sort of set of relationships and historical sensibilities around us. If we're going to participate in what's supposed to be a democracy, and we're selling ad nauseum in places that most people in this country can't point out on the map. And again, don't believe a word I say. Do your own research. Go ask people where Iraq is. Give them a map.
I'm a librarian, so I think in terms of information literacy, and I
Sure.
wonder how you would understand that in this, in the broader discussion of all these different
How would you define it?
I define it as the ability to know when information is needed,
Sure.
to know where to look for it, how to use the tools that would help you get access to whether it's a database
Sure.
or Google or whatever. And then how to, I think some of it incorporates these other literacies like critical literacy, how to use that information.
Sure.
Whether it's analyze it, synthesize it, use
Sure.
it in some way, whatever.
It sounds, and correct me if I'm wrong, because again, we all need to reinvent these concepts for ourselves in terms of how we wield them. So if someone asks us, we have a sort of informed sense of how we use these lexical choices. But for me, it sounds like you're talking about technological literacy meets a little version of cultural literacy, definitely meets methodological literacy. That information literacy is sort of an amalgamation of those three. Technology obviously comes into play, as I'm sure you've seen libraries radically change in the last, 2 days. So yeah, that's a combination, which is part of the crime of this whole notion of redefining literacy, is that people say, well, no, first you need to teach the basics. Get to that, that's icing on the cake. Get to that later. It's like, there is no later. You don't take a 21-year-old adult and say, suddenly we're going to infuse you with these other elements that we consider to be important, but only at this particular juncture. It's like, for me, K through 12, right from the get-go, when kids are getting access to this, we should have not only a theoretical working definition of these variations of literacy, but in our practice, in some critical sense of praxis, that sort of play, where it's happening simultaneously. That, I think, is really important, rather than just get back to the ABCs and the phonics approach, rather than what whole language is sort of trying to bring in, the cultural associations, and the limits of whole language of, what about these other elements? So for me, these aren't, I don't conflate them, they're not the same thing. Their articulation comes together, right? They're not one and the same thing, but gosh, they're multiple interconnecting relationships that I think not only need to be understood, certainly in any semblance of a democracy, but need to be embraced and encouraged in these agencies of socialization in schools. Libraries, maybe doing really important work. Librarians often get like distant off to the side. It's like, what your ability to be cultural workers and give access, there's huge power with that. But when people come in, do you work? I don't mean you, I mean the abstract you. I don't want to personalize this. Do you work in order to apprentice people into these skills? Because we're not biologically predisposed for them. We might be biologically predisposed as a species to be curious and to be creative. We couldn't survive without it, but not critical. That's an apprenticing process. We have the faculties for it, right? Neurophysiologically, we have the faculties for it. But we need people like you, like all of you, to be able to find ways, niches, spaces, and places to embrace this stuff and encourage it among students, regardless of what their age is.
Yeah, and I would argue that there are elements of information literacy that are not embedded in other kinds of literacy that you describe. For example, knowing how information is organized.
Sure.
In a library.
Sure. Totally.
Or that sort of thing.
So, but and you know what that gets into too, in the sense, and this is why I said a little bit of cultural literacy. Context is everything.
Right.
Contingency is key. You're not born with universal literacy skills so that you can suddenly navigate the college library at Greenfield Community College. Come to UMass Boston, different context, different space. You might have some tools that you can use in the active sort of transfer process of I wonder if it works like this. And if it doesn't, you'll figure it out, or you'll have someone help you. But the bottom line is, those are culturally specific entities, and again, you're not born with that stuff. So this notion of just get back to you, everybody is literate in the same way, get back to the ABCs and you'll be fine, it's ludicrous. Because just as soon as I walk in this building, and I'm 43 years old, and I've been in these institutions for a long time, I'm going to get lost. My first question, where's the bathroom? It's not because I'm having some synaptic problem or some material situations that got you get a point. It's like, you need to be apprenticed into this, and the literacy is always calling that into, or I should say, should always be calling that into question. Now, especially with this, because the media, again, is such, I mean, I would argue, given especially that young people watch so much more television than they do in terms of time on task and they spend in classes, formal educational classes, that we need to take our entertainment far more seriously. Now, the film itself, as it takes up critical media literacy, is actually a 3-part series. I picked this part because I sort of already had the data for it, not realizing what I was getting into, because it was 4 years of blood, sweat, and tears. But I'm glad it's out and that it's done, and I'm happy that it's on, and working at NDF is great. But the first part, what I was really interested in, is how does news media represent the working class, represent labor, represent us? Right? That's the first one. The second one is how does entertainment represent the working class, labor? Right? And the third one is how does Hollywood film represent labor? Now, those three things, I don't think can be conflated. Again, there's those interpenetrating relationships with the three different animals, right? So we decided that the easiest one to take out at this point is entertainment television. And for me, one of the strategies was, I think, to get people to start to consider the possibility that the world doesn't work the way that they think it does, right? That tolerance of, maybe I've been taught some things that, maybe they're not true. Right? Maybe the bumper sticker is sending me in a direction that might not be true, which was the counter bumper sticker that I liked. The counter bumper sticker was, I'm trying to find a florist that can ship 2 bushes to Iraq. Now, you can see the ideological tension in there. Now, where you situate yourself, that's up for debate. That's what democracy is about. Debate, dialogue, dissent, not conformity and coercion, right? And those bumper stickers articulate that space. That's an important space. Again, I'm not trying to, this isn't supposed to be a pedagogy of imposition. I'm not trying to impose on you anything. You think for yourselves. But it's definitely a pedagogy of exposition. To expose my students, for example, my graduate students, to information, to get them to consider it, and to start to develop what you were talking about there with the tools, and those theoretical tools, the ability to theorize, the ability to start to make sense of the world around you. Not what's happening. That's just narrative, description, right? That's a form of literacy, but why it's happening. That's theory, that's theorizing. Why and how you think what happens. That's key to this process of critical literacy. So I'm going to expose them, my students, or anybody, you, myself. Again, we're in this constant process of learning, but I'm going to expose them to the information, and given what they know about the world, I hope they make critical decisions. Like, not just big things like elections, but in how they buy their milk, or how they teach their kids, or anything and everything in our everyday lives requires that kind of literacy, that kind of critical literacy of reading, analyzing, drawing your generalizations, so that those generalizations inform what your actions are. Right? Unless, of course, we're total hypocrites, like most politicians, where, yes, no child left behind. What a great title. Who the hell wants to leave any children? Anybody in this room want to leave some children behind? or now in Massachusetts, we're an English-only state. English for the children. Who the hell wouldn't want English for the children, right? But when they're smart, these folks are cultural studies people. They know how to develop these signs, embed them with ideology, and circulate them so that people say, yeah, that's right. Those bleeding liberals, all they want to do is this and this. It's like, the debate's already lost. I just did a radio interview, the guy said that. He said, well, you liberals. And I was like, God, I've been struggling all my life to be sort of a radical pedagogue, and now you link me with like Hillary Clinton, who they say she's a radical socialist. If Hillary Clinton is a socialist, I'm from another planet. And I don't think I'm extreme. I'm just trying to get people to think. I think that is presupposed in any notion of a participatory democracy. Should be presupposed in any notion of literacy, right? I don't think that's so crazy and loony and let's march up the street with my flag so I can turn you all into a bunch of raving Marxists, right? This is about simply the tools that you need to develop within what's supposed to be a free flow of information. K through 12 education is supposed to be about civic responsibility and civic mindedness. Then what are the very tools that you need to navigate that space? And I'm arguing you need a very sophisticated toolbox of literacy to do this. And unfortunately, as we're diverted away via television, which is more about spectacle and infotainment, than it really is about trying to understand who we are in the world and how we've come to that sense and how we navigate that space, it does exactly the opposite. It says, sit on your duff, and most of us do anyway because we're overworked and underpaid and underappreciated, especially teachers. So you're like, you want me to think some more? I just want to be passively entertained, please, for 20 seconds. And I totally understand that. There's nothing wrong with being entertained. The problem is, if entertainment is all we're about, right? If watching the Red Sox, which is done anyway, is all we're about, then there's something wrong. I watch the Red Sox. There's nothing wrong with that. It's to what degree has the literacy in your world been so diverted away that all you're looking for is pleasure and spectacle? These folks want you to have that kind of literacy. What's what I call dysfunctional literacy. They want you to have that because basically what that does is it moves you to the side and keeps you from getting involved in the very political process and the very dangerous questions that they don't want you asking. All in the name of democracy. Remember, we're trying to democratize Iraq and the rest of the world. Of course, we're using fascist dictatorships to do it, and all these other countries that aren't democratic countries. Again, that requires the critical literacy, the cultural literacy we back up. So with this level of spectacle, I'm entertained by some of these shows that you can see. I think Doug Heffernan on The King and Queen's a funny dude. That's not where the problem lies. The problem lies if that's the only image that you get of a working class identity, and it falls into an historical pattern since the advent of television of representing the working class as a bunch of buffoons. People who are disinterested in education, they're disinterested in their children's education, they have bad family values, they have bad hygiene, they're not interested in moving up in the world, right? And this is across race, right, gender, and certainly sexuality that the film takes up. I'm just going to show you this little chunk of it that's called Class Clowns, that again is supposed to be, as producers, directors, and certainly CEOs of these corporations tell us, it's supposed to be just about entertainment. Chill out. Come on, get a giggle. There was one student told me, I was talking in this Catholic boys' school, and he said, come on, it's just Disney, for crying out loud, it's fun. You know, and I'm like, yeah, sure, that's okay, have fun, there's nothing wrong with having fun. But, as a pedagogical force, why is it that the story Pocahontas, for example, it happens to be the one that's circulated that young kids can express, is the Disney version. It's not the A&E version, which is a little more progressive. It's certainly not the MEF version, right? The Mickey Mouse, what do we call it? Yeah, the Mickey Mouse Monopoly. It's like, you're not going to find that on mainstream television. You're not going to find the A&E one on mainstream television. What you are going to find is the Disney version. So that needs to be problematized. We need, among children, to develop and nurture a language of critique, to go in and say, I'm not just being entertained, I'm also simultaneously being educated. And so my final definition of literacy for the 21st century takes that component very seriously. Doesn't mean I don't like to be entertained. Look at me, I love to be entertained. It means we nonetheless need to take our entertainment seriously to realize it's a major pedagogical force. In terms of cultural literacy, it has a huge impact on what kids develop and wield.
You know, as an international education as well, I lived in Southeast Asia for a year as an English teacher, and I spent a tremendous amount of time explaining to my students and friends there that the United States is not Three's Company. It is not Hollywood movies with men shooting 30, 40 human beings in one set.
Totally.
That Americans don't have 4-car garages, I spent an enormous amount of time explaining to them. But that's not what's happening here, and I think these people have this image of America, and it drives them in certain ways.
Sure.
Many of these folks come here and are greatly disappointed by what they see.
Oh, sure. I mean, think about it. There's 38 million people in this country that live in poverty. The poverty threshold is about $10,217. I don't know what the hell you do with that money, but there ain't much that I can do with that money. We got kids, we got all kinds of bills and responsibilities. There's 3.9 million homeless people in this country. 39% of them are kids. You can't say they're just lazy workers, it's the kids, right? 44 million people that don't have health insurance. And I can go on and on and on with these statistics of where do these representations of the grand, glorious sort of idea that Americans are doing fine come from. That's the whole point of the critical media literacy. A lot of it circulating among sort of that medium that needs to be taken up. I think definitely needs to be taken up. I mean, think about it. People were drooling 2 days ago because the stock market went through the roof. They broke a record, right? It broke 12,000. Economically, that's pretty amazing. So all of a sudden circulated everywhere is the economy is doing really, really well. Well, you didn't need to have critical literacy to go in and say, wait a minute, 92% of the stocks in the United States are owned by less than 10% of the people. Who's really making the money off of that 12,000 mark, right? 90% of political contributions come from less than 1% of the population in this country. Who's really going to circulate the message of what is grand and glorious around here? Because the bottom line is, the United States is $8.3 trillion in debt. What about the deficit? The deficit's child's play. It's about 450 plus or minus billion dollars. That's just trade issues. That's the child's play. Debt, what we owe, $8.3 trillion. This current administration has borrowed more money than all of the other presidents combined to support what they're calling downsize the government and the old fiscal responsibility that Republicans always embrace. Now, the Democrats belong to the same party. They're also a big business party. Don't get me wrong here. Bill Clinton was a moderate Republican. All the big decisions that he made were all important decisions, I should say, that he made were big business decisions. NAFTA, sort of drug enforcement, the 1996 Telecommunications Act, the 1996 Welfare Act. That's why he can hang with Bush Sr. now, and really not that far apart. Such a limited ideological spectrum. They want to make it seem like the Democrats and Republicans, they just don't get along. I was listening to Carl Rove last night on TV. Those Democrats, it's like, give us real circulation of real issues like that $8.3 trillion, which, by the way, these guys can't stand the commies. China owns $1 trillion of our national debt. 1 trillion. I ain't talking million, I ain't talking billion, trillion. Of course, Japan has a little bit over 2 trillion of that debt. These are guys that are not interested in the United States. They're not interested in patriotism. They're certainly not interested in any kind of participatory democracy. But again, to have youth understand that so they can situate themselves within this grander politic, I'm arguing they need a more sophisticated sense of literacy than simply giving functional literacy, again, basic decoding and encoding, and all of this goes away. All the isms, racism, sexism, homophobia, classism, linguistics, xenophobia, all this stuff magically disappears. You know why? Because you can decode the phonics card. And by the way, do your research, again, methodological literacy, do your research on who controls the education industrial complex. It's a $600 billion a year complex. And you start to look at Harcourt Brace, Pearson, McGraw-Hill, right? McGraw-Hill is buddy-buddy. They've been buddy-buddies with the Bush family since the 30s. They used to vacation together down in Florida. It was very exclusive, I'm sure it was. I'm sure there were soldiers at the gates, neighborhood. Well, look at McGraw-Hill. He was the first guy in the White House when George W. Bush, right, Jr., was in office. The first day, Harold McGraw-Hill comes on in. They've had an incredibly profound relationship because McGraw-Hill has, in large part, a monopoly on a multi-billion-dollar business in the United States to sell us crappy materials, crappy assessment. None of this has been proved, right? In this grand accountability and efficiency, we need more accountability. These corporations are not held accountable for the things that they're selling us. It's a really interesting form of class warfare. Take tax money, buy private stuff, call it public. It's crappy education, so people come out with crappy skills, then you blame them for those crappy skills, so you can relegate them to crappy jobs and pay them minimum wage, which is $5.15. Back to the poverty threshold. I'm no mathematician. 40 hours a week at $5.15, you're about $200 over the poverty threshold. Now, who's there within the representational force of going, what these are not hard-working people. These are lazy people. These are people that get what they deserve. You know why? Because all they want is sort of self-pleasure, sit on their duffs. That's what the working class is. Disarticulated, completely, scripted, completely outside of the fact that, wages have been stagnant since the mid-1970s, right? Productivity is up, hugely so, right? But profits are through the roof. Since 1975, they're 758% up. That's the story I want to hear on the news, but I'd be naive to think that private news, not public airways, which they belong to you. The FCC developed them with your tax, or we probably went around with your tax monies, right? They're supposed to be yours. Right, sorry. They're supposed to be there. It's actually, there's a there's a serious agreement that says these folks aren't supposed to be just there to entertain you. They're also supposed to take a substantive chunk of time to educate you, and they're not fulfilling that. They're actually breaking the law. But again, what they are fulfilling is all this other fluff over here. I mean, I hear more about Paris Hilton than I do about what the hell is going on in Lebanon. Now, every time I just got back from Turkey. I'm actually off to India. Man, every time I turn on those programs, I'm like, wow, real news. This is bizarre. It's not Mrs. Jones's cat up the tree 20 times a day, because that's cheap news that these private interests don't want to spend the money. A, they don't want to educate you, because then you're going to start to ask dangerous questions about who they are and how they shape the society in the first place. But B, it's like, I need some information. I can't participate in this society without information. And I don't mean just Pepi's information. What I mean is a diversity of information, right? A free flow of information so that when we do develop those combination of literacies, including information literacy, thank you for adding that, that we have the skills to say, given what I know about the world, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to vote here, I'm going to buy my milk here. Right? So for me, this isn't just about an abstract educational practice. It's not just about grandiose, what's General Motors doing today. It's both of those and everything in between. This is not just for academics. This is for anybody who's going to participate in a democratic society. And these pedagogies of diversion that I'll throw on now, I'll just play a little piece of it. They're not into that. I mean, as Chomsky argued, it's not a conspiracy theory. This isn't a grand conspiracy. They're protecting their own interests. Anybody would do this. Then we have to say, okay, what are their interests? Those are the critical questions.
In order to reinforce its middle-class ideology, television must account for the members of the working class who haven't made it. TV reproduces the deeply ingrained belief that workers' inadequacies are to blame for their lack of advancement. In reality, most Americans do not change their class position, and the boundaries of social class are now more restrictive than ever.
For a very long time, I believe ending in the early 1980s or the late 1970s, it was possible for a quarter of the working class to move beyond its class origins into professional and managerial categories. And that developed into both a mythology as well as an ideology, which the mythology was that everybody in America can gain social mobility. The ideology was that it's a personal question.
Because there's such a strong ideology that says that anybody can make it. So if you haven't made it and you're not wealthy, something wrong with you.
And so the idea that we are who we are because of what we have done, I think is so limited. It's not completely wrong that people are individuals and have responsibility and have possibilities and potential. But that's limited and constrained and influenced by the social circumstances in which we grow up.
Television representations either perpetuate the idea that the cream always rises to the top, or they reinforce stereotypes about workers' failure to succeed due to their inferior qualities, such as bad taste, lack of intelligence, reactionary politics, poor work ethic, and dysfunctional family values.
One of the flaws that's supposedly characteristic of the working class, that's widely circulated in popular culture. Of course, TV plays an important role in that circulation. It pertains to taste, lifestyle, and leisure. And the stereotypical image that we get is a bunch of slobs sitting around on some cheesy couch. They're drinking beer, preferably brown bottle or canned beer, staring at the tube. They love junk culture. And, we don't get this sense that they're deserving of the finer things in life. They wouldn't appreciate them anyway.
Can't try to save money by not having the right beer. You can skip having medical insurance, you can buy everything you own in a swap meet, but the right beer is what makes living like this possible.
This is something that I think is expressed through the idea of taste. It's something that you either have or you don't. Well, no one either has it or they don't. Everybody acquires it.
I mean, if you are, a lower income person, you're not going to be buying microbrewed beers. You're going to be more likely to be buying something like Budweiser or even a cheaper brand. You may not be getting artisan bread from the local bakery. You may be getting Wonder Bread or something like that. That has to do with economics.
Being working class seems kind of like a lifestyle choice where people, like pink flamingos and tacky furniture in their house and don't have much taste.
Just trying to give your family a little culture. Bet if I shoved it in a Hot Pocket and smothered it in Velveeta, the four of you would be out back wrestling over it.
As if people choose to have lower incomes when class in reality, is powerfully structured by social forces.
When they do try to move out of this space and hobnob with the middle and upper classes, it's made really laughable because they're so awkward in this new environment. They don't have the cultural capital to navigate it. And TV plays off this, in particular sitcoms.
Miss Shirley Feeney and Miss Laverne de Fazio.
Do we tip this guy on the way out? You'll get it later.
It's really nice of you to have us over.
Oh.
Yeah, thanks. This is for you. Scotch. Hope you like it.
Like it? He loves it. Big Scotch guy right here.
Scotch is great. Love the drink, love the tape.
So, what do you think of the new joint?
I don't get all this eyeball stuff. What are they supposed to represent? Eyeballs?
It's Pomo. Postmodern. Yeah, all right. Weird for the sake of weird.
Oh.
One way to fit into this upper class world is to get a personal makeover. And there's a slew of reality shows that are dedicated to this process.
I want to trade in my blue-collar life. I want to be.
a hero.
What will happen when this average Joe is transformed into a multi-millionaire?
Take Joe Millionaire, for example, where you take these working class guys and you give them the necessary social skills and etiquette to pass as moneyed. You know, and there's a bunch of other shows that are about physical transformation. This idea that bodily perfection, leads to upward mobility. And not only that, now, you can make over your house, you can make over your car. Then there's Queer Eye for the Straight Guy that goes for the whole package, from the house and the body. It's one of those rare shows of gay representation. Stereotypically, it's white and male and upper middle class.
Television is doing with Fab Five what culture has done with gay men for a very long time, which is in a sense pushing them to the precincts of taste where they're allowed to be.
Doesn't he look amazing?
It's
Yep. It's tucked in. Those pants fit really well. The pants are great.
Where, historically, could gay men be both employed and openly gay? For the most part, in the style trades. And so I want to be careful with critics' dismissal of the program as just a product placement orgy. I also think that the critique of Queer Eye comes partly because the made-over people are straight men. And, straight men historically have been the arbiters of all things serious. And they're, in a sense, being reduced as people who have to buff their nails in order to be more acceptable lovers or employees. In contrast, women have long been accustomed to the idea that you need to better appoint yourself in order to expect social mobility. So we might ask the question, what is it about contemporary labor circumstances that demand that of men as well, rather than saying, what is it about gay men that can't stop sort of selling things to the rest of us?
None of this changes a person's class position, nor the economic conditions that have created their situation in the first place. And if you want a real class makeover, you're going to have to radically change the economic system. That's a reality show I'd love to see. Another debilitating characteristic of this group of people, according to the stereotype, is that working class men lack intelligence.
One day they're going to look back and realize how stupid their father is. Or more likely, they'll have my genes and be so stupid they won't even realize it.
It's obvious they weren't good students. They often fumble the language. And a lot of basic stuff just goes right over their heads.
It's got to be a doctor that's what they call a MD. What does that stand for? Mr. Doctor, I reckon.
The classic character of the lovable but laughable buffoon that's still very much with us today is played by Jackie Gleason in The Honeymooners, and the character of Ralph Cramden. He's this city bus driver who hates his job. He's loud and blustery, and he's always coming up with these harebrained schemes. And the real joke is, we know that he's not that smart. And he has this sidekick, Ed Norton, who's this dim-witted but lovable, happy-go-lucky sewer worker.
I'm telling you, pizzas with manhole covers, the sewer would be a paradise.
These class clowns get reproduced in the 1960s with the Flintstones. Even though it's set back in the Stone Age, Fred's the direct descendant of Ralph Cramden, and Barney's definitely the son of Ed Norton. And what follows is a whole parade of dumb working class guys. Stupidity is the brunt of the joke.
What do you do?
I run CBS.
Ah, CBS, nice.
My wife shops there. In fact, she just picked up a couple 12-packs of Charmin, saved a bundle.
The Honeymooners was also an important prototype for a particular gender dynamic. Because these guys are so lacking in common sense, and the wives are obviously smarter, it's the women who end up ruling the roost.
Now you listen to me, Ralph. You are not going bowling.
I gotta go, Alice. I promised the guys.
The guys? What about me, Ralph? What about your job? What about our future?
And so what we end up with is a reversal of traditional gender roles, where these guys are essentially incapable of taking their place at the head of the household.
I just gambled away my paycheck, that's all.
You lost that too? Rodney, we don't have money to gamble.
I know, that's why I was trying to get it back.
Rodney, we agreed that you were going to use that paycheck to pay off our property taxes.
Trina, I have a problem.
You do not have a problem. I have a problem. I'm married to an idiot.
Open it up for comments and questions.
Let me make one quick comment about the beer thing. One thing that's really troubling is that the political stuff that's been attached to the co-opting, if you will, of product by groups like Budweiser, for example. Budweiser is commonly associated with conservative right-wing politics and blah, blah, blah. It just adds something to the...
Oh, sure. I mean, we were talking earlier about the Coors family. I mean, they have these commercials, you know, the working class guys drinking the Coors beer. And it's like, everybody knows about, oh, anybody who does the critical literacy and methodological research and find library to look into out of Coors. I mean, the dude was a fascist. He had the right name. He hated blacks. He couldn't stand working class people. Didn't mind him slogging in the factory to get the suds out. But to circulate the representation that everybody's satisfied, and by the way, it's a nice elixir to get them passive in the sense of, yeah, man, my life's good because I get to swill beer. But the class element there is really important too. You're not going to put Coors in a green bottle. That's that arbitrary sign, that color carries a heck of a lot of class weight in terms of who drinks green bottle beer, who drinks wine.
I'm doing a lot to pay attention to this crazy divide of who cares about the environment.
Sure.
And that classic jobs versus the environments, and you could, I do this exercise where I brainstorm or, you know, stereotype environmentalists.
Right.
You get the upper white, middle class, you know, granola eating, Birkenstock wearing.
Sure.
Trust fund baby.
Sure, oh yeah.
You know, the whole thing, and then we break it down and we talk about the environment who's really impacted by the current situation of our environment. So,
Totally.
I don't know if you know.
And that's an excellent example of critical literacy, what we were talking about, of using that element also to bring it all sort of into picture to see why are they putting these signs together.
Yeah.
And why is sort of the Democrat now considered the latte drinking, you know, pink panty wearing, and by the way, probably French, right? You know, they're very, again, these are cultural workers. They know how to bring these signs together to circulate them and get people to disconnect from who the real enemy is. I mean, Antonio Gramsci was onto this when he died under fascism, right, in prison with the notion of hegemony. You don't necessarily have to have a gun to somebody's head. We do that too. But you need to control the psyche. You need to control the imagination. You need to control public memory so that you actually get people through that kind of circulation to consent to their own exploitation and subordination. That's brilliant, because you don't do it necessarily with physical force. You do it with ideology. I mean, that's why Goering, when he said, when I hear the word culture, I reach for my gun. Because the Nazi Germany knew how this worked. I mean, Goebbels was obviously is well known for his propaganda industry. They knew how dangerous culture is. Culture is primary, and we need to take that up. But your example is a perfect one of critical literacy, of saying, yeah, we need functional literacy, we need cultural literacy, we need background information, right? We need these other forms, technological, information, methodological. But that critical component is the one that is most frequently pulled out of the equation. And I think that's not random, that's strategic. You don't want a bunch of young kids asking really critical questions about the very people whose position of power is going to be subverted once they realize that Birkenstock environmental nonsense that they construct, not that Birkenstocks are nonsense, you don't want to go into representation, is just that, it's neoliberal nonsense. I'll end on this, because I just read this piece where, just to cope with the environmental point, where they were talking about, yes, but the natural wetlands have actually been increased by this new woman that they put in charge. You do a little bit of information work, and you find out, you know how it's been increased? How have the wetlands in this country been increased? It's pretty dramatic.
They've redefined the definition of a wetland.
Totally. To include golf course ponds, dysfunctional swamps, and this one's the real kicker, swimming pools. How is that possible? Critical literacy is really important for the 21st century. Thanks for coming, I really appreciate it.